Hi everyone, my name is Lena and welcome back to my channel. As you see behind me, I am currently sitting in my unfinished kitchen renovation. If you haven't already, or if you're unfamiliar with my channel, we are currently in the middle of a kitchen renovation. If you haven't already checked out the rest of the videos on this project, on this series, I guess you could say, be sure to do that. And then come back to this video and you'll be up to date. Or if you want to play Life on the Wild Side, watch this first and then check out the rest and see how we got here. But yeah, so as I was saying, we're kind of in this weird spot where a lot of things have been done, right? Like our cabinets are in, but obviously there's no doors. We put our countertops in and they are sealed and like oiled up. But at the same time, like our kitchen stovetop is not fully installed. Our oven is not fully installed. We have a kitchen sink, which for me was the biggest thing. I could have cried when I washed my first thing of dishes in there. It's been multiple months of washing our dishes with the kitchen hose, so I've been super enthusiastic to have a kitchen sink, period. So anyways, I say all that to say that we have done a lot to get to this point, and we're finally at the point where we're in the spot where we could technically start moving some of our stuff in, because like I said, like our kitchen stovetop and stuff should be installed by the end of this weekend. So I feel like we should just start moving stuff in, like start putting our food in the pantry, start putting our dishes back on the shelves. But before we do that, there's a project that I want to do that shouldn't take super long, but I know it will take a little bit of time. So I have the things behind me. I have these shelf liners, which I want to put in the glass cabinets that are on our wall, and also probably in the pantry. And then I also picked up this wallpaper. It's a very pretty wallpaper. You can see. Anyways, as I was saying, so I have this wallpaper that we picked up at our local hardware store. I was looking at multiple things online, and like actual wallpaper, as many of you are familiar, are pretty expensive. So I found this peel and stick wallpaper that has this very pretty like floral design that I'd really love to put in our glass upper cabinets. So that's on my docket today. That's what I plan on doing. By the end of today, I hope to be putting some dishes back in. That's like my goal. I would love to claim back our front living room space and it not be just like a Mod Podge of kitchen stuff, like our one little burner. So yeah, that's what I have installed for today. Let's go ahead and let's jump right into it. All right, so I actually have some explaining to do. So I cut my first piece and I realized that I don't like it. If you look at it, it looks very beautiful, right? Like this pattern is so beautiful, but something that I didn't realize in the store is that it's like shiny. So you see how I move it and depending on the light, it like kind of fades out. Well, I didn't realize that when I put it up, the way that the sun would hit it, it would just like, it just makes it look really splotchy. So I ordered some new wallpaper. I don't like this. I'm sure we could find another use for it somewhere else, but for this purpose, it just really doesn't make sense. So I'm gonna press pause on hanging that wallpaper and instead I'm gonna go ahead and do the lining. I went ahead and measured this side to the end. I'm gonna do the top first and that way I can try to figure out how I need to cut this. So I went ahead and laid it out here and I'm just gonna go ahead and put it in. I haven't really decided if I'm gonna do one long piece or if I'm gonna cut it in half. I'm probably gonna cut it in half just to make it a little easier for myself, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So you may or may not have noticed that this cabinet that the oven will eventually go into does not actually have butcher block yet. And the reason for that is because we actually purchased an additional piece at a later date than we did the rest of the kitchen's countertops. And the reason for that is because we opted to buy a slightly larger piece than we needed in order to turn the excess into a bunch of little cutting boards. And the big idea behind that is we wanted to turn them into cutting boards for our friends and family to gift them during the holidays. That's kind of where the idea came from. And also too, this entire project has been a labor of love. So it's just a really cool opportunity to share a little piece of our kitchen with our loved ones. So yes, this is bonus content for the butcher block. You get a little bit more footage of us cutting and preparing and ultimately oiling the butcher block before we install it and then install the oven next. So at this point, we really started to get really confused because we measured both the oven and the cabinet multiple times, but somehow it did not fit, and it really threw us off because we couldn't figure out exactly what the problem was. And obviously, like with the oven in, it's hard to see, so we had to pull it in and out trying to figure out what the problem was. And it was honestly a little frustrating because this is the type of thing that you work on and then you finally get to the point where you install it and it just doesn't work. So I feel like this is the perfect representation of how these things go sometimes. Like you sit there, you're faced with resistance, and you have to try to figure out what the problem is and how to fix it. And thankfully, it actually wasn't something that was that big of a deal because we ultimately realized that it wasn't the oven or the cabinet, it was actually the wire that you can see sticking out. And the next day, Tyler actually went in, and the solution that we came up with was actually cutting out the back part of the cabinet to accommodate for the width of the wire. So when you push it in, it would fit and it wouldn't stick out. And honestly, this was such a relieving moment because we really were so thrown off that we didn't know how we were going to fix it. So to find such a simple solution is very nice. It's sometimes the little things that we really appreciate the most. Okay, so it's been, I'm not gonna lie to you, like 4 hours. This took me a lot longer than I thought it would. I've always heard that wallpapering is hard, and this is my first experience. And this isn't even like true wallpaper, it's peel and stick, so it was a lot more forgiving. But yeah, things were going really well at the beginning. I like sat there and I measured everything, and then I put everything so that the patterns lined up. But then once I got to like my first or second piece, I think it was the second piece, things just started not aligning just because there's this, I guess you'd call it like a bracket or something holding the shelf up that I had to like cut out. And then I think from there, it was kind of like a domino effect. From there, by the time I got to like the end, things just did not line up. So it was a large puzzle of like Jenga, I would say. But thankfully, like I had like almost 20 feet of this to work with. And actually all I'm left with is this small little piece. So I feel like I did pretty well. I got kind of nervous at a point where I was like, oh my God, what if it doesn't line up? But it was all good. It turned out great. I love it. This is exactly what I envisioned whenever we decided to keep these glass uppers. I just envisioned obviously our kitchen is blue, so I envisioned like a blue floral, and I really love it. I think it's all about the details, and this definitely came out really nice. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night. My back hurts from being in like these like goblin like positions. So I'm going to see y'all tomorrow. Okay, so I don't think that we've talked about this yet, but we brought this into the room, and this has been something sitting in our main bedroom, basically our storage room, for a couple of months now. We purchased this kitchen island from this guy on Facebook Marketplace, and he told us that he purchased it from a woman who would purchase like reclaimed wood from old barns, and this was in upstate New York. She would like build furniture out of it, and he's owned it for many years, and he was moving, and we were like, perfect, we want it, we want to buy it. I feel like you can only find stories like that when you buy secondhand, but we've held on to this for a while with the intention of using it in this kitchen. The kitchen's kind of long, and there's like a lot of empty space in the middle, and I just kind of felt like the natural order of things is to put some sort of island in the middle, but like not super big, which is exactly what this is. It's, I think, a good size. So we're gonna go ahead and put it together and see what it's like for the first time in the space.
Hi everybody. So while Lena has been working on getting everything into this kitchen and really making it feel homey and useful in here, I've actually been working on something else off camera. So while she's been doing all of this, I've actually been installing a water filter. And this is a reverse osmosis water filter that we're going to use to have fresh water in here. So we have always been really big water drinkers. We drink a lot of water. There was a point where Lena and I respectively drink 1 gallon of water each per day. Now we're down to about 3/4 of a gallon of water each, but still we drink a lot of water. We drink water with pretty much every meal, so we've always used Brita filters in our apartments, and now that we own a house, I kind of thought that maybe I wanted to get a water filter, but I wasn't really sure as to how we would do it or where it would go. And one thing that became very salient in our minds is in New Orleans, there was this really big concern and scare about the saltwater wedge that was rising up the Mississippi River. So essentially there's a drought in the Mississippi River Basin and in this local area, and that caused saltwater to actually creep its way up the Mississippi River, and it was getting fairly close to New Orleans. And if that happened, then our water supply would be compromised. And at that point, the water wouldn't really be drinkable. You would actually have to filter it or drink bottled water during that time. So a lot of people started thinking about buying water filters, and we did too. So I had a few Amazon returns that I made and then had some credit and spent a little bit of money on a water filter and got it and started installing it. So what we got is a reverse osmosis water filter. It's the type of one that usually goes under the sink. And whenever you have one of these, you'll typically see this type of dispenser. It'll go on the side of the sink. You may also see dispensers that look like this in like Mexico or places where they drink, bottled water or the big 5-gallon bottles of water. But essentially, we bought a water filter, and this is the way that it's meant to be dispensed. Now, Lena and I don't actually love this thing. First of all, I don't really want anything else crowding our sink area. I feel like the nice thing about our sink is that it's like very minimal. It's very clean. There's not a ton of stuff over there. And also this doesn't match our sink. So neither of us were really in love with this dispenser. So we tried to find an alternative. So one thing that I think a lot about actually in the context of our house is the modern farmhouse aesthetic. The modern farmhouse aesthetic of the late, 2010s, onset by Chip and Joanna Gaines, and then the early 2020s. I think a lot about this aesthetic, and I ask myself whether or not it's going to look dated, or is it going to really date our house if we adapt some of these features? Because some of the things that you have in the modern farmhouse make a lot of sense in our house, like this apron sink. This is like quintessential modern farmhouse, but it's actually, period appropriate for our house. It actually makes sense for us to have it because this is something that actually existed in our house back in the day. Another thing that I ask myself whether or not it's going to end up looking dated, or is it going to date a house? Kind of like, the Tuscan style that you sometimes see and you're like, oh, that's like circa 2008-ish. Something that I think a lot about is the pot filler. So we actually bought a pot filler, and I was kind of resistant to this. I've never really understood the point of the pot filler. I've never really had that much trouble, filling a pot of water, bringing it to the stove and boiling it that way. I just never understood why you needed this. And I also thought it was kind of risky to have extra plumbing lines that you didn't need behind your stove that could potentially leak. So I was kind of resistant to this, but Lena and I came to the conclusion that we can actually use this for our water filter. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect this pot filler to our water filter, and this is how we're going to dispense our filtered water. And the nice thing about this is that you just won't know it's there. You're just going to look at it and you're going to think, oh, it's just a pot filler. But this is actually going to be the place where we fill all of our water bottles. We fill all of our pots and pans with purified water. And also we just, are able to drink from this dispenser. And it's really nice because this blends in. It's going to kind of hide itself with the style. And overall, I think I can get behind the pot filler if we have like a good use for it. If we're actually using it for something rather than that occasional time where your pot's too big and you don't want to, bring it all over to the sink. So I'm actually going to work on installing this today, and I think it should be easy enough. I mean, there's some plumbing that I need to do on the other side of the wall that I'm not going to show because it's kind of boring. But I think we can get this thing installed today. So let's get to it. Okay, so Lena and I have been trying to figure out exactly where we wanted this thing. And we settled on this height right here with this dot in the wall. So we settled on this height because it's high enough to where we can fill all of our pots, and also we can fill our biggest water bottles, like our 1-gallon water bottles that we drink out of. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drill through the wall with a really long drill bit and see what happens on the other side, because I actually don't know where this lands in our laundry room. So I'm going to drill through it, and then from there I can drill with a bigger drill bit to make the hole big enough for the pipes. So let's do that. All right, so I got this super long drill bit, and we're going to go all the way through the wall and just see where we land up, and then from there we can drill a bigger hole. So I got a little cardboard box here. This is from our cat's food orders that we get, because he's on like a special food, and they ship it in this box. So this is a nice sized box to try to catch some of this debris. Actually, maybe I'll tape it. There we go. Catch some of this debris that's going to fall out of the wall. All right, so let's do it. All right, so we now have our hole all the way through the wall. So I'm actually going to go outside and see where this landed and then take it from there. All right, so I'm pretty happy with where that pilot hole ended up. It looks pretty nice and clean on the other side, so I'm gonna go ahead and drill a bigger hole with this hole saw bit. Can't find my safety glasses, so I'm gonna use these glasses from my Guy Fieri Halloween costume like 2 years ago. So let's do it. You can actually see through to the other side of the wall, and you can actually see our water heater over there. So I'm gonna go and stick the pipe through and see if it's long enough. I hope it's long enough. I think it might be, but you never know until you check. Let's do that. All right, got the pipe all the way through the wall from one side to the other. And now let's connect the pot filler.